seats and put up your yellow committee member tag. It will be much appreciated. If you're not on the committee, it would also be appreciated if you could skedaddle so we can get to rolling. We currently have quorum with 11 council members present. Council members Porterfield, Allen, Cortez, Druffel, Evans, Siegel, Gamble, Huffman, Spain, Sword, Toombs, and Webb. Council members all is present, and council members Gregg and Johnston appear to be absent at this time. We do have one person that signed up pursuant to Council Rule 28. The public comment period at committee meeting is limited to items that appear on the committee agenda. All public comment speakers must present proof of Tennessee residency. And we have Mr. Steve Ryder speaking on RS 2025-1436 with the concern. Mr. Ryder, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm referring to the grant contract for DePaul on this. It says this is for, on Section A, it says it's a 24-month contract. In Section B, it says it's for 12-month. It says effective date of June 30th, 2026. So there's a clerical error there. My problem is that this council approved $500,000 for the startup for the Scobey House. And Mike Lacey has reported that essentially as of a couple months ago, there's more than $1 million that has been billed for this operation over there. Since the council just authorized $500,000, I think the Office of Homeless Services has an explanation to come up with. This is just not supposed to be done. This was a startup cost for $500,000. Mike Lacey had to work really hard, public records request and everything else to try to get it. He still hasn't gotten all the information. I just got aware of this from Mike Lacey. I think the general membership and people of the COC have had questions regarding this, and frankly, we just haven't gotten the answers. Mike has taken the lead on this, and I really appreciate that. There is a section here that talks about media interaction. It's in Section D, and I really have a problem with this. It basically says that any media events or news releases connected with this or contemplating or performed relative to this grant contract must be coordinated through the Office of Homeless Services. In other words, DePaul can't even talk with anybody. They can't even talk to the media, and they probably can't talk to me because they're, oh, well, hey, you know, we have to have a public records request to get any sort of information. The Office of Homeless Services has no board or commission that reports to. None. Zero. No accountability that I'm aware of. I know I ask questions all the time, and it's like, oh, we'll get around to it. I see Mr. Huffman was on there, and he's no longer on there right now. I think Aaron Evans and maybe Coopin will come on board or whatever else. But we have a lot of questions that we have to get addressed, and the sooner we get that done, the better. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. And we're going to go ahead and go into our agenda. We have the following items that have been recommended for consent. If anyone would like to pull any of those items, please let me know. The recommended consent agenda is RS 2025-1416, 1417, 1419, 1420, 1421, 1422, 1423, 1424, 1426, 1428, 1429, 1430, 1431, 1432, 1433, 1434, 1435, 1437, 1438, 1439, 1440, 1441, 1444, 1445, 1446, 1447, 1448, 1449, 1458, and BL 2025-953. Does anyone have anything that they would like pulled from the consent agenda? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have several questions. So I would like to pull RS 2025-1424, 1426, 1433, 1435, 1440, 1445, and 1447.
You lost me a couple.
I'm sorry.
Back. Okay, I have 24, 26. Was the next one 33?
33.
Okay.
35.
Okay.
40. This is how I feel when I'm trying to follow you. 45.
Okay.
And 47.
All right.
There'll be short questions, I promise.
Thank you. So 47, 14, 47, 14, 45, going in reverse order, 1440, 1435, 1433, and 1426 and 1424 have all been pulled off the consent agenda. Does anyone else have anything they would like pulled from the consent agenda? Councilmember Webb, you're recognized.
1421, 23, and 24.
Okay, 1421, 1423, and did you say 24?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, 24 was already pulled. Okay, does anyone else have anything else that they would like to pull from the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go through with the reading of the consent agenda. RS 2025-1416, a resolution appropriating $200,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to Habitat for Humanity of Greater Nashville to renovate the historic Parkwood Community Club ball fields. Sponsors Toombs, Gamble, Porterfield, and others. RS 2025-1417, a resolution approving a contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and Catalyst Tax and CAMA Inc. to provide computer-assisted mass appraisal software to the Davidson County Office of Assessments, along with technical support, care, and maintenance of the computer-assisted mass appraisal system. Sponsor Porterfield. RS 2025-1419, a resolution accepting terms of a cooperative purchase and master agreement with Inmate Calling Solutions LLC, doing business as IC Solutions for inmate communications for the Davidson County Sheriff's Office. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and others. RS 2025-1420, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Housing Agency to negotiate and enter into a pilot agreement and accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to multifamily housing project located at 2122 Buena Vista Pike, known as Buena Vista Apartments. Sponsors Toombs, Porterfield, and others. RS 2025-1422, a resolution to approve the First Amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Arts Business Council of Greater Nashville, Inc. Sponsors Porterfield, Gamble, and others. RS 2025-1428, a resolution declaring surplus and approving the disposition of certain parcels of real property in accordance with Section 2.24.250F of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Sponsors Porterfield, Gamble, and others. RS 2025-1429, a resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchase and master agreement with Miller Knoll Inc., doing business as Herman Miller Incorporated for furniture installation related products and services for the Department of General Services. Sponsors Porterfield, Hill, and others. RS 2025-1430, a resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchase and master agreement with Trinity Furniture Incorporated for the purchase of furniture for the Department of General Services. Sponsors Porterfield and Hill. RS 2025-1431, a resolution accepting the terms of cooperative purchase and master agreement with Auto Car Truck LLC for class 7 to 8 chassis, Director Darby, chassis with related equipment for the Department of General Services. Sponsors Porterfield and Hill. RS 2025-1432, a resolution accepting a particulate matter PM 2.5 ambient monitoring network grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to assist with the necessary development, establishment, and maintenance of adequate monitoring programs for the prevention and control of air pollution in Nashville, Tennessee. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and others. RS 2025-1434, a resolution accepting a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government, acting by through the Metropolitan Board of Health to achieve sustained control and enhance prevention to eventually eliminate tuberculosis as a public health threat in Tennessee. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and others. RS 2025-1437, a resolution accepting an in-kind grant from the Friends of Beekman Park to the Metropolitan Government, acting by through the Metropolitan National Parks and Recreation Department for materials to stabilize the carport side porch at the Proctor Barn located in Beekman Park. Sponsors Kimbrough, Porterfield, and others. RS 2025-1438, a resolution accepting a grant from the Nashville Parks Foundation to the Metropolitan Government, acting by through the Metropolitan Board of Health, Parks, and Recreation for programming improvements to the Metropolitan Parks Community Centers. Sponsors Porterfield, Gad, and others. RS 2025-1439, a resolution accepting an in-kind grant from the Friends of Scobey Park and Bottoms to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation to fund new equipment for the Scobey Community Center, including volleyball nets, roller skates, basketballs, and shelving. Sponsors Cap, Porterfield, Gad, and others. RS 2025-1441, a resolution approving a clinical affiliation agreement between the state of Tennessee by and through Motlow State Community College and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by and through the National Fire Department for the participation in clinical training of students enrolled in the Emergency Medical Services Program. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh. RS 2025-1444, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claims of Emma and Kyle Manning against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $100,000, and that said amount to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. Sponsor Porterfield. RS 2025-1446, a resolution approving Amendment 1 to an intergovernmental agreement by and between the state of Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, and the Metropolitan Government of National Davidson County, by and through the National Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure, NDOT, for traffic signal communication upgrades along Broadway and West End from First Avenue to I-440, state project number 19 LPLM-43-183, federal project number CM-NH1445, PN 1307553.00. Sponsors Porterfield, Gamble, and others. RS 2025-1448, a resolution supporting the proposed landscaping project by the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewerage Services in cooperation with the Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, and at the interchange of Tennessee State Highway 155 and County Hospital Road. Sponsors Porterfield, Gamble, and others. RS 2025-1449, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Property or his designee to exercise option agreements for the purchase of 3 flood-prone properties located at 5340 Buena Vista Pike, 218 Blackman Road, and 517 Paragon Mills Road for Metro Water Services. Sponsors Porterfield, Gamble, and others. RS 2025-1458, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the property damage claim of Jeff Brown against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $82,984, and that said amounts to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. Sponsor Porterfield. And on second reading, we have Bill 2025-953, an ordinance to amend Title II of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to codify the Office of Family Safety. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and others. Is there anything that anyone would like to have pulled from the consent agenda? Councilmember Soror, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. 1417, please. RS 2025-1417.
Okay, 1417 has been pulled from the consent agenda. Is there anything else that anyone would like to have pulled from the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, can I get a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Consent agenda passes. Like we have 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. The first item that is not on the consent agenda is agenda item number 1, RS 2025-1100, a resolution requesting Mayor Freddie O'Connell to create an advisory working group to explore and determine a coordinated model that supports a long-term sustainable youth policy and strategic plan and an analysis of data that extends beyond mayoral administration. Sponsors Druffel, Hill, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Druffel, would you like to be recognized? Okay, Councilmember Druffel, you're recognized.
Thanks, Chair. We've been working on this for some time and appreciate everybody's patience on this. It's to encourage the mayor and to provide some institutional knowledge and through a team going forward so that we have some sense of continuation. If you look over the last 5 administrations, we've had 5 different plans with 5 different levels of support. I believe we have so much potential that we're not using. I mean, you got yourself, you got Councilor Suara, Councilor Gamble put together in our very first year, put together a after-school program recommendations. So we're sitting on a lot of good stuff that will help youth in many ways. And when you really look at being able to provide increased partnerships, distribute cost, we looked at our budget this last year and we struggled getting through and programs like Power Youth are at max, but if we increase programs and partnerships, they pay for a lot of this. So there's a lot of good reasons I've outlined here. I won't repeat them all, but I do think it'll add a lot of value. And if we do this over the years, we will start to see some great increases in taking care of our youth. Thank you. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Druffel. Councilmember Gamble, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to speak in support of this resolution. As Councilmember Druffel said, there has been a lot of work done on various committees, starting with the After-School Special Committee back in 2021, moving on to the Youth After-School Time or committee that Councilmember Druffel chaired in 2023, 2024. So there has been a lot of work from various committees that talk about not only the importance of having structured out-of-school time activities that could lead to workforce development for young people and other strategies that go along with youth policy and strategic planning. And I think Dr. Hildreth in the role in the Office of Youth Safety is the perfect place to start with that. But I'm hopeful that perhaps the administration will lead in that way, in that effort. But this is just a non-binding resolution to support that angle or moving in that direction. If that is the case. So again, just wanting to speak in support of this resolution and acknowledging and recognizing all of the work on various committees that have been done over the past 4 or 5 years. So it wouldn't be starting from the beginning. We have a lot of good research, a lot of good work to add to this, and hopefully we can get some collaboration or cooperation with this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Councilmember Gamble. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on it? Well, I will speak. Councilmember Druffel, thank you so much for your hard work on this. I know you've been working on this for a while. I do agree with many of the sentiments of Councilmember Gamble. We've seen a lot of this work that has been carrying on between the administration. Between the various administrations. I will say that a few concerns that I have is it does seem like a duplication of effort. A lot of this work is work that the Office of Youth Safety is already being tasked with, and the convening of various entities and bodies and representatives is work that the Office of Youth Safety is already working on. So that is my number one concern is making sure that, one, it's not in conflict with that, but two, that we're not duplicating working efforts. I also just have concerns with the legislation as it's written. Section 1 has a Department of Youth Safety. We don't have a Department of Youth Safety. So that is something that we don't have. And then also in Section 3, it says that we are funding this work through the fiscal year 25-26 operating budget. We've already passed the 25-26 operating budget, and this is not included. So I do have concerns with if this is passed, how, that will be done if we've already passed that operating budget. So I'm going to direct that question to Finance. I don't know if maybe Ms. Wiggins or somebody could speak to that, but can you speak to, or maybe that should be Director Darby, what happens if we pass this legislation saying that we're funding something for fiscal year 25-26 operating budget, but we've already passed that budget? It looks like Director Darby's going for it, so I'll recognize you.
We don't have the ability to amend the operating budget ordinance. If funds were appropriated for a particular purpose, they can be expended. There is the possibility of a supplemental appropriation potentially that could still be funded out of the current operating budget that we are in. But that is something that the Finance Department would have to look at, and whatever department was seeking those funds would have to make that request.
Do we know what department that would be with this resolution?
The resolution is making the request of the mayor's office to create an advisory working group. So presumably the mayor's office.
Thank you. Can we have someone from the mayor's office to speak on it? Mr. Rosenberg?
On what specifically, Chair?
If y'all have a position on it, that would be great to know, but also that specific question was about, it says that this will be funded as part of the 25-26 operating budget, which has already passed. So Director Darby was saying that it would have to be, the only possibility would be if there is a supplemental budget request from the office that would be holding the work, which would be the mayor's office.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Dave Rosenberg with the Mayor's Office. There is no plan to make a supplemental budget request. I'd say that there has been really good work done in the past. Council members Druffel and Gamble both referenced reports and other efforts that shouldn't be ignored, and they're not being ignored. They're part of what's informing the work that the Office of Youth Safety is doing. Ms. Hildreth, our Director of Youth Safety, was here speaking to committee last meeting 2 weeks ago, and I hope you all got to see. I mean, she is a sponge for knowledge and viewing things from every angle. So she certainly is taking those into account. I don't see the requests in the resolution advancing the work that the Office of Youth Safety is doing. More than anything, it'll distract from that. It's just too early to commit to exactly how a working group is going to be composed, and then the other requests fall into the categories, the issues that Councilmember Porterfield mentioned.
Thank you so very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the legislation? Councilmember Gamble.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered if there is I didn't see a fiscal note with this. And so, and the sponsor can clarify, I guess, what his intentions were with that, about the being included in the 2025, 2026 budget. I suspect he meant just the budget for the Office of Youth Safety. I don't know that, but there's no fiscal note on this bill. So if someone could speak to if there is one and what that amount is, because I don't see it.
Thank you, Councilmember Gamble. I'll go to the sponsor first, and then if there needs to be follow-up from finance, we could go to finance. Councilmember Druffel, you're recognized.
This has been extended out as we have had some changes in anticipation of new director of youth safety. So as a couple of comments have been stale compared to what we originally designed when we started this back in October. So I think there is no need for a fiscal support because we have a director of youth safety at this point. So I don't know how if we could amend or just take that component out. The intention is just to directionally ask the mayor to, start working on some of these other areas as part of the initiative here. So I don't know if there's a way to do that, but there is no need. When we started this, we originally thought we'd have asked for a little something to get it started, and that was, again, a long time ago.
Thank you, Councilmember Druffel. Do you want to make a deferral motion so that you can fix that in the legislation?
Can I make that deferral motion, Mr. Harvey? Am I good enough to make that? Because I think it's been deferred.
Oh, okay. He's asking about the deferrals. We were going to say, of course you're good enough, Councilmember Druffel.
I could go a full year with this, Chair, in a minute here. What can I do to correct that? I think the mayor's office is moving in the right direction. I just want this there for support. We've been talking about for a long time, and just that recognition of all the efforts that have been over the years.
To answer the question on the deferral, the resolutions has been deferred twice. So you have technically two more deferrals before it becomes an indefinite deferral.
Oh, okay. I thought, okay, good. Then let me make a deferral motion for one meeting.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any additional discussion on the deferral motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? One meeting deferral carries, 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Okay. The next item that was not on the consent agenda is RS 2025-1417, a resolution approving a contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville, Davidson County, and Catalyst Tax and CAMA Incorporated to provide computer-assisted mass appraisal software to the Davidson County Office of Assessments, along with technical support, care, and maintenance of the computer-assisted mass appraisal system. Can I get a sponsor, Porterfield? Can I get a motion? Can I get a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Soror, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I pulled the resolution just because the justification was not attached. The justification has been sent to me by the Finance Office. And I will ask for it to be sent to council members and then put on the record. But that's part of the work that we've been doing. And in order for us to be able to make informed decision on these sole sources and cooperative, it is important that all the justification and all the documents attached to it.
Thank you, Councilmember Sora. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item not on the consent agenda is RS 2025-1418, a resolution approving Amendment 1 to the Community Correction Services Grant from the Tennessee Department of Corrections to the Metropolitan Government, acting by through state trial courts to divert eligible offenders from the Tennessee prison system by providing community-based supervision and treatment services through Davidson County Community Corrections Program. Sponsors Porterville, Evans, and Welsh. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2025-1421, a resolution to approve the First Amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acted by through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and the AAA Residential Resources Incorporated, sponsors Porterville, Gamble, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Webb, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. My questions for 14, 21, 23, and 24 are all the same. And what I wanted to know was, since we were trying to give them the 75% up front of the money requested, where are they on the project as far as the development for each one of them? I already talked to the people that did 14, 22 and got a great, they clarified it. But I'd like to know where we are on the other three projects.
Okay, thank you. Do we have someone that can speak to it? If you could please introduce yourself, please. You're recognized.
Thank you. I'm Catherine Middlebrooks. I'm the program manager for Barnes. So 1421, I believe, is AAA, Residential Resources. And they are currently in the beginning stages of this project. They have pulled permits, and their amendment is an extension. Their financial partner has asked for this extension so that it will take them to the end of their project. And this is their financial partner's request. Their contractor has given them an 18-month window for construction, and this amendment would put them all the way through to the end of construction. That is what their financial partner has requested. So they're just really at the beginning of their construction process at this point.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Webb. You're recognized.
How much money did they get? Was that one of the ones that got the $4 million? So we're giving them 75% of the $4 million up front, and they've only pulled permits? So
their initial contract was $3,700,000, and their contract effective date was 10/2/24. So this is a round 13 contract. So it's a fairly new contract.
Councilmember Webb, you're recognized.
How much money have we given them so far? Are we giving them any money? And then are we giving them 75% of the 3.7 up front? And they've only pulled permits, correct? Is that correct?
No, ma'am. This is a contract extension. Okay. So AAA is a contract extension. This is not a draw request change. This one is just a contract extension.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Did you have something else on this piece of legislation?
No, this one is strictly just a contract extension.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any additional comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item that's not on consent is RS 2025-1423, a resolution to approve the First Amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Woodbine Community Organization, sponsors Porterville, Gamble, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Webb, you're recognized.
Same questions.
All right, you're recognized.
Okay, so this one is a draw change, and this one is to a draw change to allocate 22% of the total grant award, which is equivalent to $836,000. And they are requesting this for pre-development costs. Their total grant award is $3,800,000. This is also a round 13 award. Their contract effective is 9/17/2024. They have to date made one draw for $475,000, and that was dispersed in June of this year. They have requested this draw change just because project costs have just escalated and increases in land related expenses. So this draw request change will help provide essential financial support to offset the rising costs of their project.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Webb, do you have follow-up? All right, thank you so much. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 5 in favor, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2025-1424, a resolution to approve the second amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acted by through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Living Development Concepts Incorporated, sponsors Porterfield Gamble and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Webb, you're recognized.
Same questions.
Thank you. Director, you're recognized.
Yeah, so this one is an amendment to amend the scope and budget and also to extend the term. So the extension is for 12 months. So this one, this piece of property was flagged by Metro Water Services due to significant site issues. The Metro Water stated the following items would need to be addressed in order for this piece of property to be developed. The parking spot on the property could not be, the property line needed to be moved 4 feet away from the side of the property line. It also could not encroach on the stormwater easement. There were 2 stormwater conveyances on the site. Both need easements to be recorded and dedicated to Metro. Remove the RCP pipe that is in the channel and reestablish the conveyance. The sides will need to be armored and should be detailed on the site plan. A bridge crossing would need to be provide access to the house to the front. This needs to be engineered and make sure the low cord is above the flow line of the conveyance. This all would require significant funds for any grantee to develop this and make this piece of property into a state that we could put any kind of housing on it. So this grantee is returning this piece of property. This piece of property cannot be developed at this time, probably not at any time. And this grantee is also returning funds that would have been used to develop this piece of property. Those funds are being returned to the Barnes fund balance and is going towards round 16 funds.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Webb, did you want to be recognized? Okay, thank you. Councilmember Sora, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. This was one of the ones that I was going to pull originally. My question in this case is, how many units did we plan originally with this one, and then how many do we now have left? I did not see that in the analysis.
You are recognized, Director.
So originally, there were, I believe, 4 properties that were awarded, and there was going to be a total of 6 units that were going to be built. So 2 units were proposed for one of the properties. One of the units was completed. Codes only allowed 1 unit to be built on that property that 2 units were going to be built on. So only 1 unit was put on that property. On another one of the properties that was given to LDC, 1 unit was proposed and completed. On another one of the properties, 1 unit was proposed and it is currently in pre-development. on the unit that was returned, 2 units were proposed. And so obviously those 2 units are not going to be completed. So that means that 1, 2, 3 units will be completed for this project. So 3 out of 6.
Thank you. I saw that the amount was half of what was originally budgeted. That's why I wanted to know how many units at first and how many. So it's about half, and it's half that will be built. And so that was the question. When we have properties that are no longer suitable for building, in this particular case is a water thing, is this something that will get fixed and then we can use it later, or what usually happens in those cases?
This particular one, these issues that were indicated are very cost prohibitive for most, if not all, of our grantees who are trying to build affordable housing. So this property will not be put back into our land bank to be used for any of our grantees that are building affordable housing.
Thank you, but we could sell it and put the money back in bonds fund like we're doing some of the properties that we have now. So that will be an option for us to, if we're able to, if anyone wants to get it. But thank you. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Sora. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Yeah. Sorry, y'all, the numbers keep changing. All right, RS 2025-1425, a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the Metropolitan Nashville Public Schools and the Department of General Services for the usage of 3.77 acres located at 3500 John Mallet Drive to construct fire station number 24, sponsors Porterfield, Gamble, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2025-1426, a resolution to approve the fiscal year 2026 criteria for the Community Arts Leaders of Nashville Internship Program for the Metropolitan National Arts Commission, sponsors Porterfield, Gadd, and Walsh. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had 2 questions. If I understand this right, this is $6,700 to each host site for the Community Arts Internship Program, which sounds great. $2,500 of that $6,700 is administrative, which seems high to me. Could we get an explanation of what that administrative
And
provides?
we do have someone coming on up. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Ashley Batchelder. I am the interim executive director of Metro Arts. So the $2,500 is to support the host for whatever they might need to support the intern throughout the semester. And so this takes into account that some of our host organizations are very small organizations. They might not have paid staff, or they might have just 1 paid staff. They might not have a budget for some of the things that they want to host the student to do. So that is really making it accessible for organizations of all types of resources, and just acknowledging that these are working with students and they do need support and guidance. And it is just to make it possible for a good experience for everyone involved.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen, did you have anything else?
I did have one other question. And again, we're approving the criteria, and this is similar to the other criteria that we approved. It feels like we're approving the conditions, but is there a rubric that somebody looks through on this, or is just the framework?
Yeah, so this is just the criteria, which is what is required to be approved by you all. So the commission has approved the full guidelines. That includes the applications that students, host sites, and mentors apply for. The guidelines include more information around check-ins with Metro Arts, and so really the full scope of the program. So this is just the criteria, the requirements for all the parties involved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Sora, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just stating all of this for the sake of the viewing audience. I had an extensive conversation with the director earlier on. One thing that I wanted to stress, since we pulled it also, is that my concern was that 2,500, but that 2,500 is per site, and there's only 1 intern per site. So there's not a possibility of a site getting 2,500 for 4 students or something like that. One of the other things that she stressed to me also is that the intern at different levels, meaning that sometimes they do need a lot of supervision for their work. And like she rightly stated, some of these agencies do not have the manpower to just devote to those students. So 37 seemed high for me, but after talking to her and those explanation, I wanted to make sure that we have all of those on record. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Councilmember Sora. Is there anyone else that would like to be recognized? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item that is not on the consent agenda is agenda item number 18, RS 2025-1433, a resolution accepting the Air Pollution Control Program grant support grant from the United States Environmental Protection Agency to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health for the ongoing collection of data on ambient air concentrations for fine particulate matter in Nashville, Tennessee. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is paired with another one that talks about particulate matter, but when you read the description of this one, it talks about a whole lot of other things, and the description just seems different from what the rest of the information provided seems. So I'm just wondering if we could get an explanation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I see someone up from our health department. If you could introduce yourself, please.
I'm Tom Sharp from the Health Department. Council Lady Allen, I don't know why this happens. It happened last year also, if you remember. Fortunately, the caption on here doesn't really have anything to do with, it doesn't have any legal impact on what the grant is right. It's what it's supposed to say. I don't know, somehow it's gotten confused in the system.
I guess I had asked the question earlier, just do we need to substitute this to make the caption be correct? And if so, do we need to defer?
Thank you. I'm going to refer that to Special Counsel Darby.
It's always best when the caption reflects what the council is approving. If you want to substitute the caption, we could do a late file for tomorrow night's meeting. If not, it could be deferred to the next meeting and we could substitute then.
Okay, I'll try the late file. Is this a timing issue? Do we need to push it on through?
Oh, you're recognized, Mr. Sharp.
This is one of John's. I don't think he's in that big a hurry, Council Lady Allen. If you want to put it off and redo it, that's fine.
And then maybe we can get it so that it comes back right next year.
Yeah.
Okay, I would move for one meeting deferral then.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the deferral? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions or anyone not voting? One meeting deferral prevails, 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2025-1435. A resolution approving amendment number 1 to a grant contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Public Health Department and the Nashville Health to extend the grant term for a healthy Nashville study. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you. I couldn't find how much we're spending on this, and I know it was something in the budget about we did part of it, and now we're doing the rest of it. How much are we spending on this?
I'll direct this question to Finance. Ms. Wiggins, you are recognized. The question was, how much are we spending on the Healthy Nashville study?
Thank you, Chair. I don't actually have that. I've got somebody looking it up unless, we give you that amount a minute.
Okay. We have someone in the back from our health department. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Cabera Leach, Public Health Department. The original grant amount was for $1 million. If you want like the amount that they have left to spend down on, I don't have that exact number, but I can find that for you. But all they're doing is extending that because they got kind of a late start due to more so red tape, not the part of the organization. They've been doing the work and they continue to do the work, but they need more time to spend down the funds.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you. It looks like Mr. Sharp has something
I'm sorry.
there.
It's a little over $600,000.
Left.
Thank you.
Great.
Left.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so very much. And we're getting thumbs up and head nods from Finance, so putting that on the record. All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2025-1436, a resolution appropriating a total of $3.5 million from the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Office of Homeless Services to DePaul USA Incorporated for the provision of property management, on-site support, and case management services at Scobey House Permanent Supportive Housing. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. I do see we have our director in the back. If you could introduce yourself, please, and then we'll let you speak to it, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Hi there, Director April Calvin of the Office of Homeless Services. Just wanted to talk a little bit about this process. So we're in this situation currently because of four main reasons. One is the complexity of the problem, like this was or complexity of the project. This was a one of its kind for Metro, the first of its kind for our Office of Homeless Services. I think also second is coordination and negotiation between multiple departments along with Metro Legal, ITS, and DePaul, the vendor that we're currently working with. And then also there was a mix of multiple funding streams for this with different resolutions that's been before you all as well. And then fourth was the unexpected challenges of things like staff change and turnover while our department was addressing homelessness here in Nashville and addressing encampments in the city. This was not an ideal situation as far as the procurement process. Initially, there was no funding for operating costs nor funding for the supportive services attached to Scobey as it was resurrected. So it meant that we had to have some creative solutions as a department. One of those creative solutions was identifying the funding stream alongside of identifying and creating the long-term service agreement for this project. So therefore, the initial funding agreement was Resolution 2024-459, and it was our top priority to secure the funding along with securing the vendor during that time. And so as that time went on, we continued with contract negotiations between the multiple departments, also between the outside vendor, and then there was Scobey ARPA funds that was secured, and that is RS 2024-490. And that award for Scobey ARPA funds was awarded in 2024, and that's what the vendor has been receiving payments from. I think one of the things to note is there was some staffing turnover and probably a little bit of confusion on, was that a resolution for the funding stream or was that a resolution for bringing on the vendor? And as soon as the department realized that that was just for the funding stream and not for the vendor, we quickly sought Metro Legal's guidance and advice to create the new resolution that's before you today. That will help with bringing on the vendor, the funding, and DePaul is the vendor that we have that's been operating it for the last year. They're an awesome vendor. They've partnered with us collaboratively pretty well. They've housed over 100 individuals there. 68% of those individuals have experienced chronic level homelessness or street level homelessness. So the resolution that's before you today is 2025-1436, which will bring us into compliance with that funding stream that we had already received, that we've been making the payments out of, and going forward while continuing to hammer out the contract. Internally, we have made 4 corrective action moves internally for OHS. One is the immediate remedy is working with Central Finance, Metro Legal, just to ensure that proper procedures and processes are being followed. 2, we received approval to hire a contract administrator instead of a grants coordinator, which is a key step with as many contracts that we handle in our office. And then the third is our admin team and our finance team they've embarked on the CCFO state training, which is the Certified County Finance officer training for people that are, or employees that are handling governmental contracts. And then fourth is just realignment. I know that we're working with Metro Finance on, as our department was separated out from Metro Social Services, we were operating on direct voucher process, and it continued to operate on that. And I think there's some conversations between, is it a direct voucher process or a PO process, which will also help catch situations like this. So I ask you all to please approve this resolution 1436 that's in front of you.
Thank you so very much, Director. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns? All right, Councilwoman Sora, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Calvin, for your explanation. I think that I'm appreciative of all the steps that is taken, but I think it's very important for us to name that there was a huge error on the part of the department. And that for some of us, I think it was even a little bit odd that our system did not catch those errors, that we had to find out from an outside source. I think that's the biggest part of it. And so from the invoices that I've seen, I saw that the ones with the PO and I saw the ones with the direct voucher, and those were approved by you. And so at the point of approving those invoices, especially when the PO is exhausted, was finance notified at that point? What was the step that you were simultaneously taking, or did all this corrective action just starts now when it's come to light?
Director Calvin, you're recognized.
Thank you for that question. A lot of moving parts were happening all at the same time. So moving forward with the resolution, along with moving forward with the contract, we've worked closely with Metro Legal throughout that process, and then identifying the vendors. So I think all of it was moving at the same time. It wasn't brought to our attention until after the staff, our grants coordinator transition. It's kind of when were notified that we've been operating out of 490, which was the funding stream, but not necessarily comparing the vendor. And so as soon as that happened, we started working with Metro Legal to move forward with this resolution. And that's been about 3 months ago.
Okay. So 3 months ago is when we've started moving towards correcting it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So my question now go to finance. And again, the report that my committee will be giving today did address this week. And so there's a lot of information there. But I wanted some of this conversation on the record. And so I wanted Ms. Mary Jo to speak to finance, to speak directly to this. One of my concerns when I went, like many people find out about it, was not just on the departmental side, but if the department made error and the department is supposed to catch things and they did not, how do we make sure that at least at the top level that we're catching it and there's some controls in place? And so we've had an extensive conversation. I just want Ms. Mary Jo to speak to that.
Ms. Wiggins, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. So there are a couple things that I want to point out that are for clarity. This is a grant contract. Grant contracts are monitored by the department. So there is not a mechanism in place where finance is monitoring a grant contract. Every department across Metro does their own contract monitoring. Finance does have a division, Office of Financial Accountability, where there is a division of contracts. They will do what is called a contract monitor or a contract review. That is after the grant contract has been completed. They will come in and they have steps with internal controls. Were the funds spent in accordance with what was in the scope of work? Did it stay within the budget, et cetera? So that is done after a contract is complete. Director Calvin referred a little bit to a purchase order versus a direct voucher. And what happened in this case is that payments were being made to DePaul through a direct voucher system. The direct voucher payment does not connect to a contract. And finance does not approve those direct vouchers. Those are all approved at the department level. That is true for all Metro departments. Had a purchase order been used, finance sees the purchase orders, those are connected to contracts. That would prevent an overrun of a contract or payment on an expired contract. Because we were using a purchase order in this case, it goes undetected, there's some other safety nets that if our Office of Management and Budget, OMB, does monthly reviews on financial line items for every department. Their OMB analyst, if it ran over a total on a financial line item, would catch that. There are safety nets, but those again are going to be after the fact. They're not going to be in real time unless we're using POs. So some of the conversations that we have, why can a department use a direct voucher instead of a PO? And that is because we do have some vendors that don't fall under a purchase order. So we rely on the departments to elect what is the correct payment, either via a purchase order or using a direct voucher. We are working on a new, so everybody who's familiar with R12, it is an Oracle product. We are going to be Oracle Cloud in the new year. And so one of the things that we've been looking at and can confirm as of today is that with our new Oracle Cloud, we can go back, it's a pretty heavy lift, but we will go back to every Metro vendor and we can set them up as PO or direct voucher. So we will go back, and if we have contracts that have been, so we have vendors that have been engaged through Metro through an actual contract, they will now be identified as PO only. And so a department will not be able to pay that vendor using a direct voucher. They will only be able to pay that vendor with a purchase order, which means finance approves it, and which means it also links to that contract, which will preclude them from exceeding the contract value or paying after the contract expires.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Wiggins. Councilmember Sora, you're recognized.
Thank you. I think it was very important to have that on record because in this particular instance, we had a $500,000 contract, but we ended up paying $1 million. And so the question was, how did that happen? A number of things was an error on the part of the department. By circumventing the PO payment and using the direct voucher, but also making sure that if there's an error on the part of the department, they know they're supposed to be tracking it, then that finance has something in place. And so that's where that monitoring process, and I think that there's a lot of conversation about training. There's a lot of conversation about a new website where people can track vendor payments that is happening today. So a lot of conversation is going on, but I wanted to, part of that is in the report, but I wanted to talk about that. And I do hope that I can't say much to the departmental level. Anybody can make error, but an error of 100% magnitude is a big one. And I think that the onus will be on a departmental head to make sure that those processes, no matter what we say, we did not follow the process here. We did not pay the vendor the right way. That's what happened here. But I think we can go on and look at how to make sure it doesn't happen again, both at the departmental level and also at finance level, so that at least if something drops in one end, there's something to take care of it on the other hand. So I wanted to just put that out there. Oftentimes when we find things like that, we want to concentrate on the department, and we should, because this department should do what they're supposed to do. But I also think finance has a responsibility as an overall level too, to be able to have check and balances to combat that, and some of that is what is already in place. So I'm not going to, I was going to ask for a deferral as we were having this conversation this week, but in light of some of the information that I received this afternoon and some of the recommendation that is put in place, this is a bad look. This is something that shouldn't have happened. But the sooner that we correct it, the better, so that the contract can be in place. But the conversation on how we move forward, either the departmental level or the finance level, is one that I hope will continue until we find a lot of balances in place. But in terms of the contract itself, at this point in time, and based on all the information that I was able to receive this afternoon, I think some of the questions that also come to us, and Ms. Mary Jo, maybe you can talk about that. When you look at the ledger that was shared with us, there's a 4% funding sub-account on there. And that does not mean that the invoices were paid from the 4% fund. That was just an accounting thing that was set up, and we can look into that. But based on the answers to those questions, I do believe that we should go ahead and approve at least just the finance side to get the contract running, so we have a contract in place for a vendor that we continue to pay. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Councilmember Sora. Councilmember Evans Siegel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks to my colleague, without accountants, I would just never understand numbers. And I really appreciate her digging in. To the extent that she has any information that wasn't shared with the body, I would love if it's information that could be shared, that it be done so, because I'm trying to understand this. I think the department may recall that I had a lot of questions around budget, trying to understand how money was going to be deployed, because one of the things that I worry about is that in this area, it's important that we actually deploy money quickly because it's an urgent need while balancing the need for these checks. And I'm just trying to, this is really just me trying to understand and connect the dots. We had $2 million in the budget for new funds for permanent supportive housing pathways, such as Strobel Center. And I'm trying to understand if this is separate and apart from that $2 million, if this is sort of a part of it. Is this, I guess, basically same budget item, different budget item? Am I just like totally confused about all that?
Thank you, Councilmember Evans Siegel. I'm going to kick that over to the administration table.
Thank you, Chair. There are actually two different funding sources. So the $2 million in the budget is actually part of operating budget. And then there was $4.4 million awarded to Strobel House in RS 2024-490. And those funds were made available, I think that was June of 24. And that is what was really available to fund this contract. So the funding was in place prior to the contract itself.
Thank you so very much, Councilmember Evans Siegel. Do you have anything additional?
No, just thanks to the math folks for helping me get it mathed.
Thank you. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? All right, motion carries 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item that was not on the consent agenda is RS 2025-1440. A resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security, TDOSHS, and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, bound through the Nashville Fire Department, NFD, for training participation in TDOSHS personnel in the EMT services provided by the NFD. There was a lot of alphabet soup there. Sponsors, Porterfield, Evans, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Sora, you recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I will be abstaining on this one. I did take a look at the contract, and I see the need for NFD to have volunteer EMT. We're going to need that all the time. I did look at the contract detail. It also talks about there's a place in there where NFD was actually very proactive, saying that there will be information that will be shared, and that the Alphabet Group, the Tennessee Department of Homeland Security, will not be sharing those personal information of people that they come in contact with while using this contract. And so I'm glad that that is clearly stated in the contract itself. And so, which is why I'm not saying no, definitely, but the fact that this is the Department of Safety and Homeland Security, everything that we've had with the state Department of Safety, what is going on with everything happening in the community, and the fact that this agency will be having access to information, names that of people, makes me very uncomfortable to vote yes on this one. And so for that, I will be abstaining. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Councilmember Sora. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like my colleague, I just was kind of looking to make sure we had put in language to cover situations that we may become uncomfortable with. And it does say that the NFD will exercise the right to limit participation for work that is not in the best interest of NFD. And I just wondered if someone from the fire department could sort of elaborate on if that actually would happen. I mean, I'm glad the statement's in there. I would like to know that it would actually be followed up on if something happens that we're just not comfortable with.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Young, if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, Mark Young, Nashville Fire Department. Yes, Council Lady Allen, that exactly would be what would happen. We would recognize if anything went astray from the contract, and the participant would no longer be back for sure. I cleared some of this up this morning with the commander of the EMS division, and because we figured this question would probably come forward but yes.
Councilmember Allen.
Thank you for getting that on the record. I appreciate it.
Thank you so very much. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 8 in favor, 0 against, 2 not voting. The next item that was not on consent is RS 2025-1442, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement by and between the United States Capitol Police, USCP, and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan National Police Department, MNPD, for the purposes of reimbursing the MNPD for agreed upon law enforcement services. Sponsors Porterfield and Evans. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you. Have we done this in the past? I mean, we've had congressional people visit before. Is this something new or just a continuation?
We have someone joining us. I was wondering if he was going to get a chance to speak. Seems like we haven't heard from him in a while. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, Chris Gilder, Metro Nashville Police Department. It is the first time we had heard of it as well. You're right, we do occasionally have dignitaries, Congress members come and visit. But this time, most recently, we had Congress member Omar visited, and the Capitol Police reached out and said, hey, by the way, we'd love to reimburse you for costs associated with visits of our members. We just need an MOU to do that, so.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Allen, you recognize?
Thank you. So just to clarify, we've provided protection in the past, we just have not been compensated, and all this changes is that we're being paid.
That's correct.
And does that sort of obligate us in any way that we haven't been obligated in the past, or?
I don't think it obligates us anymore. I mean, it's a public safety issue. We're going to provide the security for the event. They do travel. They do have Capitol security, but obviously around the event, additional resources should there be an attack or something like that. We always have contingency plans in place, and so those are going to go on regardless of whether or not we're entered into the MOU. The only difference is we would be compensated for the associated costs.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Evan Siegel, you're recognized.
Thanks, Chair. I just want to thank the police department and the Capitol Security Forces for working on this. I know there was a lot of online chatter around this issue, and, they can't help us with traffic that ensues, but if they can help us with costs, that's really appreciated.
Thank you so very much. Is there any additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you, Deputy Chief Gilder. Next, we have RS 2025-4043, a resolution accepting the terms of cooperative purchasing master agreement with FARO Technologies Incorporated for police radar, LiDAR speed enforcement, and accident scene reconstruction equipment for the Metropolitan National Police Department. Sponsors Porterfield, Evans, and others. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just a question on this. We begin to see more and more of these cooperative purchasing master agreements, and I appreciate any way we can save our taxpayers' dollars by being frugal with our spending. As I have asked questions about this, I've learned that there's also a state purchasing contract that I was just wondering if we ever take advantage of that as well, because that seems like a good option. That may not, I'm not sure if this is a question just for police. It may be a general services question as well, but I'll start with y'all.
We're going to start
This
with
one's your radar.
Okay. I was going to start with legal over here, and then we can go to MNPD if they would like to add to that. Thank you. You're recognized. Oh, just kidding. You're not counsel. You're admin. Okay. If you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Macy Amos from Metro Legal. So if we're buying off of a state of Tennessee contract, which we often do, state law does not require us to send those to council. So we can just do those on our own. So that's why you're not seeing them.
Thank you so very much. And, okay, nothing to add to that. Is there any additional questions, comments, concerns? And can we get this for the record? We've already got this question answered, but just for the record of the viewing audience and public, can this do anything to capture any type of, is this any type of surveillance? Can it capture license plates? Does it do any type of video recording? You are recognized.
Sure. So a Faro scan, we utilize them at crime scenes. So it's a static scene where we're holding the scene and we're trying to create an image of the scene for the courts. So basically it sits up, it's like it's sitting on a tripod. If this were a crime scene, it would capture everything in here, everything that was laying in place at the time. And they've become critical exhibits for the DA's office and the courts to use. We've conducted over 1,100 of these scans since 2015. So it's not a new technology. It's something we continue to do. It just creates a more comprehensive image of the scene than we would otherwise capture utilizing photographs. It's just basically like a massive 3D type of photograph.
Thank you. And this is for crime scene reconstruction as well as accident reconstruction, is that correct?
Yeah, you can use them on accidents, but those would be fatal crashes. This is a pretty time consuming, and there's a limited personnel that know how to utilize the equipment. So we're not bringing them out just for standard traffic crashes.
Okay, thank you so very much. Is there any additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Almost done, y'all. Just a couple more. The next one is RS 2025-1445, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claims of Wiss and Rose Jean Felipe against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $407,333.93, and that said amounts to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. Sponsor Porterfield, can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a broken record here. So we have several of these. In one of them, they at least mentioned that this was the first offense that this 20-year employee had a driving issue. And on this one, we weren't given that information. We're told that for a $407,000 settlement where a police officer rear-ended someone, he received a 3-day suspension, but there's no mention of driver training or anything like that. So again, how are those decided? And for something like rear-ending, it does seem like maybe a refresher in driving skills would be possible.
Thank you so very much, Councilmember Allen. Deputy Chief Gilder, you're recognized.
Councilmember Allen, I am happy to report that he was required to go to remedial driving as a result of this incident.
All right, and I heard a okay from Councilmember Allen. All right, is there any additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. The next item is RS 2025-1447, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Sean Hatcher against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $150,000, and that said amount to be paid out of the self-insured liability fund. Sponsor Porterfield, can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Same question. This is not a rear ending. This is a merging into another lane. Was there any training requirement for this? This was an NDOT dump truck.
This is. If you could just please introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Matt Purvis, Council Liaison for the department. I know that this was over 6 years ago that this occurred. I'm not sure if they received any additional training. I know they received a written reprimand. I've had no issues since then, and it's actually, to my knowledge, that they have, in that time, been promoted to a manager and is a good member of our team.
Councilmember Allen, you're
Thank you. I hate spending money on this stuff. Whatever we can do to avoid more of these would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Councilmember Allen. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. And bills on second reading, we have BL 2025-911, ordinance approving a lease agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by and through the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management and the Department of General Services and the Community Resource Center for use of a warehouse at 801 Anderson Lane, Madison, Tennessee. Sponsors Hancock, Porterfield, and Gamble. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded, and there is an amendment. Would anyone like to?
The amendment.
Okay, Councilmember Gamble. Okay. You're moving the amendment. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Gamble, you recognize.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move the amendment, and I've forgotten what it does. So Director Darby, if you could help give an explanation, I appreciate it.
Special Counsel Darby, you recognize.
The amendment swaps out the agreement for the warehouse space. There were some questions that came up at a previous meeting that have been rectified through the new agreement that is now attached.
Thank you for that. With that, I'll move for approval.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Amendment approved, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Councilmember Gamble, you recognized?
Thank you. Move for approval as amended.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. But wait, there's more. We have some very, very brief presentations, like less than 5 minutes on these presentations. So we have Council Members Toombs, Council Members Allen, and Council Member Soror, who will be given the final update on their working groups. We'll start with Council Member Allen. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I headed up the nonprofit budget process with Councilmember Gregg and Councilmember Spain, and then we had Huffman and Friendly Webb join us. We were looking at the sometimes chaotic process of adding nonprofit groups to the budget at the last minute that does not always result in good outcomes. And we pulled together some organizations that have done it well, like NASA does this in their sleep, and they do a great job of getting the information that is needed, coming and going. And after talking to both departments that had done it well and departments that had not so good outcomes, we came back and identified a number of things that need to happen. Number one, those nonprofit organizations need to start very early in the process. They need to identify a department that they are going to provide a service for that Metro needs to provide, but they can do it better. We're not in the business of giving away money, and we reiterated that over and over again. And I'm saying it again, so Mary Jo Wiggins will say, good job, Berkeley. So we are not looking for organizations, but there are some things that Metro needs done, and the nonprofits can do it better, but it's better not to have them show up at the budget hearing for the first time with cute little kids and asking for money. So we're saying find a department you can work with, try to get into the budget in the mayor's part of the process. And if you can be named by name because you do this so well, that is great. In theory, as soon as the fiscal year starts, then that nonprofit can be funded and can begin the work. If we just identify a need, but we don't name that specific nonprofit, then there will need to be an RFP process. And that takes time, and so the work cannot begin immediately. Regardless, there needs to be a contract written, and the best way to write a good contract is if these nonprofits come forward with very specific scopes of work with measurable outcomes, and they need to have their financial house in order. And all that is spelled out very clearly in a grant process. Finance did a great job of updating their website to make it easier to find from a number of different places. We've gone back to the departments and said, if this is going to happen and you're going to work with a nonprofit, here's a standardized ways to do it so that everyone knows to expect. We talked to as many nonprofits as we could to explain how this process needs to work. We will need to do this every year. And so we probably will lean heavily on the finance department to provide the continuity as councils come and go. Y'all will still be there. There is a one-page handout that may have made it to every, if not, it will be there by tomorrow, that just explains what this process is. The last piece of this is that starting in FY 2027, there will be the Titans Community Cares Fund of $1 million that it is totally up to the council to decide how that is spent. And so we need to continue what this group started. I suggest keeping a couple of members of this group and also adding in some from the CARES Act. Looking at you, Councilmember Gamble and Johnston, who have been through that process so that we can have our process and our rubric figured out ahead of time, written up and formalized so that when the FY 27 budget hits and all of a sudden we've got $100 million to give away, that we've got a good, logical and transparent process in place so that we can quickly put that money to work and start doing great things. End of report.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. So the Human Resources Working Group looked at how departments use salary savings, and that is really a term of art, meaning, departments are allocated a certain amount for personnel and whatever money they have left over due to vacancies, salary savings, how they're using those funds. And we identify the top 10 departments who had the largest amount of salary savings, and looking at how they spent that money, particularly towards the end of the fiscal year. And what we uncovered as a committee was that the departments were spending those resources on necessary expenses, such as IT, training, capital projects. And so what the committee looked at, it was whether or not, and in bringing those departments before the committee, looking at whether or not it was better for transparency's sake, because the public doesn't know that you're using the $5 million that you have left over from salary savings, that you're using it on needed items within your department, whether or not it's best to reduce the number of positions for a department and reallocate that money to where it's actually needed, whether you reduce the number of positions and pay higher salaries for those hard to fill positions. And so those are considerations that are still out in the open. And I think the council really needs to look at what authority it has, which is actually very limited, but continue to work with departments to really reevaluate how they are spending their salary savings and whether or not it's appropriate to continue to carry those vacancies for extended periods of time. I know on the state level, they just take your vacancies and don't ask you any questions, but we don't have that authority as council members. But I do think for the sake of transparency to our constituents, we need to continue to have those conversations with department heads of how best to move forward, whether or not it's increasing budgets, if there's money allowed, money available to increase budgets so that they're paying for those necessary line items and actually using money allocated for personnel just for personnel, and also looking at whether or not the salaries that they are that are assigned to certain positions are competitive, so that those positions aren't sitting vacant. But it wasn't the bombshell that we anticipated as a committee. We thought we were just going to uncover just all this wasted money, just to be frank about it, and that is not what we uncovered at all. Departments are using every penny that they have, but I think there's still some work that needs to be done, again, in terms of transparency and in terms of whether or not we're being competitive with our salaries and whether it's appropriate to have these positions that linger on for 12 plus months.
Thank you so very much, Vice Chair. And then lastly, we have Councilwoman Rosora. You're recognized.
I need an hour. So this work group is looking into procurement and taking what we did today, the bulk of the job of council, approving budget and approving expenses. And I think over the years, we all have questions about some of the transactions that is gone on. And so it was the work of this subgroup to look into why does this process take so long? It was also important for us to understand some of the things that is being done and how they're doing it, and then to also look at what are some of the ways that we can improve that process for us, for the department, and also for finance. So in order for us to be able to do our work, we actually look at the 2024 key performance indicators for procurement. And so you will be getting by email, this report is very large. You'll also be getting an attachment. So the KPI is there that actually showcase how we decided the department that we wanted to talk to. We ended up talking to 7 departments, and we picked them based on amount of transaction in terms of dollar value as well as the number of transactions, but we also mixed it up with some small departments so that we have a very good representation. And we also look at the different procurement methods. They are the ones that you don't have to do a contract, the designated authority, but there's some that has to be contracted. And then the contracts, there's solicitation methods, which is very detailed in the code, but there's also those that are non-solicited, like the sole source and the cooperative. And so in doing our work, we actually look at all the different procurement type. Part of the attachment that you also get is a schedule that has some of the questions that we ask, just to be able to see how we arrive at where we are. And that attachment also have a link to all the videos of the recordings so that you all can go back and take a look at what we've done. The issue that came up, so we talked to departments and then we talked to procurement about what are they doing about some of the issues, and then we have a wrap-up meeting. So the issues that came up in most of the meetings was about the long approval process, it takes so long from the time that a contract is generated to the point that it even comes to us. We had example of some that we actually even got it when the contract is already ended. We just talked today about paying an invoice for a contract that ended because the new contract is still en route and taking so long. So that was the big part of it. Monitoring is another one. Department complained that they don't know where things are in the system, and it's very frustrating for them because they cannot even tell whether it's in procurement or with legal or where things are. There is a vendor lack of response is a big issue, and actually streamlining the procedure. We have different vendors, everybody have different understanding. I think department are confused sometimes as to which way and what to do. The process is also different. We talk about direct vouchers today and POs. There are things according to Metro policies that says it has to be by POs. But sometimes the department goes and uses direct vouchers, which is the case that we talk about today. And so it's very important for everybody to understand what is the process and so that we can make sure that everybody's doing the right thing. So those are the issues with procurement largely that we talk about. But during the course of the meeting, we also had to deal with other issues. One of it was grants. As we're talking to procurement, we find out that no, grant is different and another department deals with grant. But this is not the grants that we give to non-for-profit. This is the grants that Metro actually gets. And so we have a lot of conversation about that. And so you will see that also in the report. And there's in the question and answer column. The other thing that also came up is we had a constituent that wrote to Chair Porterfield about Sports Authority and the way that they do their procurement. So we have these other entities that are also doing, that are tied to us, but they're doing different things. So how do we make sure that we bring that all in house? So I met with Sports Authority, with Director Darby, and with the constituent, Mr. Gill. And we were able to have a conversation around what do we do to make sure that they are doing the right thing, or they're following Metro guidance as it relates to procurement. One of the things that came out is that we cannot mandate them because they are somehow independent authority, but we are going to do a resolution and joining them to be consistent. And so some of the issues that were raised by Mr. Gill was looking to, and we're going to have a resolution on that. The third issue that we dealt with that was outside of what we started with was the DePaul invoices that we had a lot of conversation this week between myself and Ms. Wiggins and Mr. Kelly and so many people in procurement. So all of that is detailed in the report. What are some of the recommendations? And so when you look at the report, you will see a bunch of recommendations. Some of them have asterisks. Asterisks means that it's already been done. Since we started this project, some of them was already put in place, and many thanks to procurement for that. So a lot of streamlining opportunities. This justification that we're talking about, the monitoring, they already actually have something in place now where the department can track the contract and see exactly where it is. Additional vendors, centralized contract management. For grants, we have to approve a grants application, and then we have to approve the grants when it comes. And so there's some things that we thought is redundancy in that process. So how do we make sure that we look at that? The other thing is the use of threshold. Does every dollar value have to come to us? Do we have to approve every single thing? And so do we need to have, right now, the mayor looks at it, the finance look at it, the procurement director look at it, we look at it. And so do we need everyone on all of that is part of the conversation. Again, you will have the summary questions. You also have the video to be able to look at. There's also recommendation with regards to the direct voucher that Ms. Wiggins talked about. We will be looking at a system that will not allow department to go around that anymore. We're also looking at a checkbook website like the one in Atlanta. And again, this issue came from Mr. Mike Lacey. I will give him credit for that because I wouldn't know about all of this if he did not point it out. But the good thing is that there are a lot of things in place to mitigate what happened in these particular instances. We're looking at the grants monitoring software. Part of what you heard is that sometimes grants don't look at grants until it's ended. And by the time it ends, we may not be able to catch things in time. So those are some of the conversation. The last bit that I will talk about is that there's a lot of legislation that will be coming out of this. You will get a sample also as part of a report of some of the legislation that we talk about for procurement, for the Sports Authority resolution, for grants, and also for grants. And we're hoping that all of this will be put before council by October. we're also recommending that, especially on this direct voucher PO, this is a new conversation. It was a rush one this week. Ms. Wiggins said I should not apologize anymore, but she was actually in the hospital while I was trying to talk to her about all of this. And for that, I thank her. And so, but there's still a lot more conversation to be had around some of this recommendation. We need to see it through. I'm grateful that some of the things is already working. When I look at the analysis, I go straight to the cooperative justification. I go straight to the sole source justification because the department does a lot of work, but they present us with a report. The purchasing agent also look at it and sign off on it. And I think that that's part of them that let us know that they're doing their work and they're checking all of this. Whatever questions you may have about all of this, the committee did a good job of asking almost all of them. And so I think it was very, very detailed. And so grateful to Budget Chair, to the Vice Mayor, to the committee members, CM Evans, Droffel, Evan Segal, Webb, Droffel, who is it I miss again? And Zach Kelly was very, very helpful in this, Director of Buying Agent Roland, the staff, everything, everybody helped us a lot in putting this together. I know that, procurement is something that I've been looking at since my first term. This is a very comprehensive look at it, and I think that what we're coming up with the legislation, with some of the things that they now have in place, we have a dedicated buyer for each department, which is making their work a whole lot better. It's not all fixed. It has to continue. The conversation will continue. We can continue to monitor it, but I think that this is a very comprehensive work and report. You all will get the email with the report as well as the attachment. So you get the KPI, you get the sample questions, and you get the proposed legislation along with the report. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity, and thanks everyone that worked on it. And thanks, Vice Mayor.
Thank you so very much. And thank you to Council Members Allen, Sora, and Toombs for all of your hard work on this. We definitely appreciate everything that you have done. Director Darby will make sure that all the information is uploaded to the share, to our drive, and a link will be emailed to all council members so that you all will have access to that. I would like to say congratulations to Vice Chair Toombs, who will be sitting in this seat for the next meeting. So congratulations on your chairmanship for the Budget and Finance Committee. And thank you to Vice Mayor Henderson for the opportunity to serve you all for the last 2 years. I appreciate your faith in me and the ability to just do this work. And with that, we are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.